Viewers in the vast deserts of Burkina Faso, where for centuries only endless seas of sand stretched as far as the eye could see, Ibrahim Traoré launched a project that left experts around the world stunned. Imagine this, a land where even a single blade of grass was once thought impossible to grow, suddenly being transformed into lush, green gardens. Your first reaction would surely be impossible, but Ibrahim made the impossible possible. When he assumed leadership of Burkina Faso, his greatest concern was the land itself. Every year, thousands of acres were being swallowed by the desert. If this continued, the coming generations would struggle for even a single grain of food. Traoré realized that if they didn't act today, tomorrow would be too late. So he launched a massive tree planting campaign, not just involving the government, but ordinary citizens as well. And he didn't stop at planting trees. He turned it into a national duty. He declared that every citizen must plant a few trees each year or take part in caring for them. Even at weddings, couples planted a tree to mark their special day, so that with every new beginning, a new life grew from the soil. Soon, this was no longer just a campaign. It became a nationwide movement. Across the country, people carried saplings in their hands, heading toward the desert, and this site became a new symbol of hope. For the first time in Burkina Faso's history, millions of trees were planted. But the story didn't end there. A few years later, a shocking challenge emerged. Sandstorms and strong winds ripped young saplings out of the ground. Those tiny plants, struggling to take root, were either buried under sand or dried out under the scorching sun. The desert soil itself was barren, offering no nutrients. Despite millions of trees being planted, most of them died within 2 or 3 years. Many people grew hopeless. They said, the desert can never bloom. Some even mocked Traoré's dream as nothing but a fantasy. But Ibrahim refused to give up. He said, the wounds of this land are deep, so the cure must be greater. And from this vision was born a revolutionary idea, an idea so unique that it would change everything. If living plants could not survive the desert's harshness, why not use dead plants to bring life back to the land? Yes, my friends, Ibrahim Traoré announced something that shocked everyone. The millions of tons of dry stalks, husks, and dead plants left after harvest would no longer be wasted. Instead, they would be buried beneath the desert sands. To many, this sounded Ibrahim. What could dead plants possibly give to the soil, they asked. But Traoré's eyes were fixed on the future. Every year in Burkina Faso, countless tons of crop residues were left to rot. For the first time, these were now being treated as treasure. Traoré ordered workers to carefully arrange these stalks across the sand in a grid, just like a chessboard. Inside each square, seeds were planted. Over time, as the stalks decayed, they turned into natural fertilizer, giving life to the new plants. But that wasn't all. The stalks also trapped the sand, preventing the winds from blowing it away. It was as if these dead stalks held a hidden secret of life. In the very heart of the desert, a foundation was being laid that would transform Burkina Faso in the years to come. Picture this scene. Under the blazing desert sun, long lines of workers, drenched in sweat, spread stalks across the dunes. From above, the golden grid looked like a magical net covering the desert. Seeds were sown inside those squares, seeds strong enough to withstand the harshest conditions. Within a few years, the stalks decayed into rich compost, and green shoots began to rise from within. The once wild and shifting sands were now locked in place. The grids gave the young plants a natural shield against the desert winds. And then came the miracle. Where once there had been nothing but barren dunes, grass and plants began to grow. What seemed like a simple idea turned out to be a national revolution. Experts who once doubted it were left speechless. The results were astonishing. Sand movement was reduced by 99%. The deadly storms that once buried entire saplings could no longer destroy them. The desert's power had been chained, and as the stalks turned into natural fertilizer, they gave the soil new life. Farmers who once believed desert land could never be fertile saw crops thriving for the first time. Plants that had once died within 2 years now grew strong, holding their roots deep in the earth. This was living proof that Ibrahim Traoré's dream was no illusion. For the first time, the land of Burkina Faso began to breathe again. At first, workers spread the stalks by hand, enduring blistering heat, but the process was slow and exhausting. So Traoré introduced modern machinery to speed up the work, transforming the project into something far greater. These new machines turned stalks into long ropes, which were laid neatly across the desert sands in straight lines. Amazingly, these rope-like grids could last for 6 years, double the lifespan of ordinary stalks. And even more incredible, they could be reused. Once the job was done, the machines could roll them back in, ready for use again. This saved time, effort, and money. It was as if a magical hand was weaving golden nets across the desert in moments. With this innovation, plant survival rates soared, and the project became 4 to 6 times more effective. Traoré had proven that when technology and vision come together, even the greatest challenges can be conquered. But this mission wasn't just about planting trees. It was about transforming the entire nation. When plans were made to build new railways and highways across the desert, many said it was impossible. Sandstorms will bury the tracks and roads within months, they warned. But Traoré used the same method, grids of stalk ropes along the railway lines and roads. Slowly, plants began to grow around them, stabilizing the ground. The result? Where trains once stopped because sandstorms buried the tracks, now the rails stood firm for years. Roads that used to vanish under dunes were now protected and lasting longer than ever. Experts around the world were stunned. They declared, if this method can work in Burkina Faso, it can work in deserts across the globe. And so Ibrahim Traoré did more than just make the desert bloom. He gave his people something far greater: belief. Belief that with wisdom, courage, and determination, even the impossible can be made possible. This story teaches us a timeless lesson. Resources may be scarce, but when vision is great, even barren lands can breathe life again. And perhaps that is why today, the world calls Ibrahim Traoré Africa's environmental hero.